I am going to tell you something that most doctors in my position would never admit publicly. And I have thought about whether I should say this on camera. But I have watched too many patients walk out of cardiology offices with a bag full of prescriptions and zero understanding of what is actually happening inside their arteries. So here it is. There is an ingredient that has been sitting in your kitchen, probably for years, that does something to arterial plaque that most cardiovascular medications cannot do. And the research behind it is not fringe. It is not alternative. It comes from UCLA. It comes from randomized controlled trials with imaging scans that showed doctors exactly what was happening inside the arteries of real patients. And yet, almost no cardiologist in America will mention it to you, not because they do not know, because it does not fit the model. You cannot write a prescription for it. You cannot bill an insurance company for it. And it costs about 11 cents. I want to explain something first. Because if you do not understand how plaque actually forms, nothing I tell you today will land the way it should. Most people think of plaque like grease clogging a kitchen drain. That is not what happens. What happens is more like rust forming on a chain-link fence. It starts on the surface, slowly, quietly, one molecule of oxidized cholesterol at a time. Your artery walls are lined with a layer of cells called the endothelium. When that layer gets damaged, and it does, every single day, from stress, from sugar, from inflammatory oils, your body sends cholesterol to the site to patch the wound. That part is actually helpful. Cholesterol is not the villain here. But when that cholesterol gets oxidized, which happens when your body is running hot with chronic inflammation, it gets stuck. It buries itself under the surface of the artery wall. Your immune system sees it and sends white blood cells to eat it. But those white blood cells gorge themselves and die right there, inside the wall. Now you have dead cells, oxidized fat, calcium deposits, all compressing together under the surface. That is plaque. And it does not just sit there. It grows, for decades, silently, until one day a thin cap over that plaque ruptures, and everything spills into the bloodstream at once. That is a heart attack. That is a stroke. It does not announce itself. There is no warning label, no early symptom you can feel. And by the time most people find out they have significant plaque, they are already in an emergency room wondering how this happened when they felt perfectly fine yesterday. Now here is where it gets interesting. The ingredient I am talking about is garlic, not a supplement, not a capsule someone is trying to sell you online. The actual clove of garlic sitting in your kitchen right now. But before you think you already know this story, let me be very clear. What I am about to explain is not about garlic lowering your cholesterol by a few points. That is the surface-level answer that gets repeated everywhere. What garlic does at the cellular level, specifically a compound called allicin, is something most people and most doctors have never been told. I am Dr. Margaret Hale, 28 years in integrative medicine and clinical nutrition, and I prescribe garlic to every patient over 60 who walks into my office. Not as a food suggestion, as a clinical intervention. Because once you understand what this compound does at the molecular level, calling it a food feels almost irresponsible. It is a pharmacy growing in the ground. And the fact that it has been sitting next to your salt shaker this whole time while you spend $200 a month on prescriptions should make you furious. Let me tell you about Earl. Earl was 74 years old, retired firefighter out of Memphis, 41 years on the job. The man had run into burning buildings his entire adult life without hesitation. But when his cardiologist showed him his calcium score, he sat in my office with his hands shaking. His score was 412. For reference, anything above 300 is considered severe. Earl had been on statins for 6 years. His LDL looked fine on paper. But his plaque was not fine. It was growing, and the muscle pain from the statins was so bad he could barely climb the stairs to his bedroom. His wife had to help him put on his shoes in the morning. He told me something I will never forget. He said, "I spent my whole career saving people from fires. Now there is a fire inside my own chest, and nobody can put it out." His wife, Ruth, was sitting next to him. She did not say a word the entire appointment. She just held his hand. I could see she was terrified, not of losing him suddenly, but of watching him disappear slowly, one staircase at a time, one morning at a time. That is when I started him on a protocol that included something his cardiologist never once mentioned. Now here is the part that matters. Most people eat garlic their entire lives and get almost none of the benefit I am talking about, because they are using it wrong. And I mean fundamentally wrong, in a way that destroys the one compound that makes garlic medicinal before it ever reaches their bloodstream. I will explain exactly what that mistake is and exactly how to fix it. But first, you need to understand what Allicin actually does once it is inside your body. When you crush a clove of garlic, two things that were kept separate inside the clove suddenly meet: an amino acid called Allicin and an enzyme called alliinase. When those two combine, they create Allicin. Allicin is not a nutrient. Think of it more like a chemical weapon that the garlic plant evolved to protect itself from insects and soil bacteria. That same compound, when it enters your bloodstream, does three things that are directly relevant to what is happening in your arteries right now. First, it inhibits the oxidation of LDL cholesterol. Remember the rust on the fence. Allicin slows the rusting. Second, it reduces the production of inflammatory molecules called cytokines. These are the signals your body uses to call in more white blood cells, which pile up inside the plaque and make it worse. Third, and this is the one that surprised me when I first read the research, Allicin appears to inhibit an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase. That is the exact same enzyme that statin drugs target. The exact same one. Let that sink in. A compound that forms inside a crushed clove of garlic in your kitchen targets the same biochemical pathway as a drug that generates over $15 billion a year in global revenue. The difference is that the garlic does not come with muscle pain, liver enzyme elevation, or a monthly copay. I am not telling you to stop your medication. That is between you and your doctor. What I am telling you is that this mechanism exists, it is documented, and almost nobody is talking about it. Researchers at the Harbor UCLA Medical Center ran a study that should have been front-page news. They took 80 patients with documented arterial plaque, visible on imaging, and randomized them into two groups. One group received 2,400 milligrams of aged garlic extract daily. The other received a placebo. After 12 months, they scanned their arteries again. The garlic group showed an 80% reduction in the rate of total plaque accumulation compared to the placebo group. 80%. But it did not stop there. The patients taking garlic actually showed regression of soft plaque. Soft plaque is the most dangerous kind. That is the type with the thin cap that can rupture. It was shrinking, not just slowing down, reversing. The lead researcher, Dr. Matthew Budoff, has published over a dozen papers on this. And still, when I bring this up to colleagues, most of them have never heard of his work. A separate trial published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed 79 patients with uncontrolled high blood pressure. After 12 weeks of garlic supplementation, the group receiving 2 capsules daily showed a systolic blood pressure reduction of 11.8 millimeters of mercury. To put that in perspective, most first-line blood pressure medications aim for a reduction of 8 to 10. Garlic outperformed the average pharmaceutical target in 12 weeks. Now let me explain something about your immune system that connects directly to everything I just described. Your body has a type of cell called a natural killer cell, NK cells. Their job is to patrol your bloodstream and identify cells that have gone wrong. Cancer cells, virus-infected cells, cells that are damaged beyond repair. Think of your NK cells like an army general who is constantly sending scouts through every corner of your body. When the scouts find something wrong, the general gives the order to eliminate it. The problem is that after age 60, your NK cell activity drops significantly. The general is still there, but the scouts are slower. The communication is delayed. Threats go undetected for longer. This is one of the reasons cancer rates spike after 60. The surveillance system is weakening. A randomized, double-blind trial with 120 healthy adults tested whether aged garlic extract could change this. After 90 days, at 2.56 grams per day, the garlic group showed significantly enhanced proliferation of both NK cells and gamma-delta T cells. These are the scouts I was just talking about. They multiplied. They became more active. And when cold and flu season hit during the study period, the garlic group had fewer sick days and significantly less severe symptoms than the placebo group. The surveillance system woke back up. The general started sending scouts again, and this was not a study on sick people. These were healthy adults. Imagine what it could do for someone whose immune system is already struggling. Someone who catches every cold. Someone whose body is not finding the threats it used to find on its own. If someone in your family has been dealing with blood pressure that will not come down, or cholesterol numbers that keep creeping up no matter what they try, send them this video. What I'm about to share next is the exact protocol, and most people will never hear it from their doctor. Here is the protocol. And I want you to understand something important. The form of garlic you use and the way you prepare it changes everything. This is not optional detail. This is the difference between a medicinal intervention and a cooking ingredient. Step 1. Take 2 fresh cloves of garlic every day. Not garlic powder. Not the pre-minced garlic in a jar. Fresh cloves. Step 2. This is the one that 90% of people get wrong. After you peel the clove, crush it. You can use the flat side of a knife, a garlic press, or chop it very finely. The goal is to rupture as many cell walls as possible. Then you set it down on the cutting board and you walk away. You wait 10 minutes. I call this the 10-minute rule. During those 10 minutes, the allicin and alliinase are combining to form allicin. If you eat the garlic immediately, or worse, throw it straight into a hot pan, you destroy the alliinase enzyme before it can do its job. The allicin never forms. You get the flavor of garlic with almost none of the medicine. Step 3. After 10 minutes, you have 2 options. You can eat it raw, which gives you the highest allicin concentration. Mix it into a salad, spread it on toast with a little olive oil, or simply chew it and wash it down with water. If raw garlic is too strong for your stomach, and for some people it is, you can add the crushed garlic to your food in the last 5 minutes of cooking. Not the beginning, the last 5 minutes. Low to medium heat only. This preserves a meaningful amount of the active compounds while making it palatable. Step 4. Timing. The best time to consume your garlic is in the morning with food or at lunch. Avoid taking it on a completely empty stomach if you have any history of acid reflux. And here is a tip most people do not know. Pair your garlic with a small amount of raw honey. The combination has been studied, and the honey appears to enhance the antimicrobial properties of the allicin. 1 crushed clove mixed into a teaspoon of raw honey after the 10-minute wait. It takes the edge off the sharpness and adds its own antimicrobial layer. Some of my patients call it their morning medicine spoon. It takes 15 seconds. Now let me tell you the 3 mistakes that make garlic completely useless. Mistake number 1. Swallowing whole cloves like pills. I have had patients tell me they swallow 2 cloves every morning without chewing. They think they are getting the benefit. They are getting almost nothing. If you do not crush or chew the clove, the allicin and alliinase never mix. No cell walls rupture. No allicin forms. You are swallowing a piece of food that passes through your system intact. Mistake number 2. Microwaving garlic. A study found that 60 seconds in a microwave completely blocks the anti-carcinogenic activity of garlic. 60 seconds. If you are adding garlic to something you are about to microwave, you are neutralizing it. Mistake number 3. Buying odorless garlic supplements and thinking they are equivalent to fresh garlic. Most odorless supplements have had the allicin removed or converted. The very thing that makes garlic smell is the very thing that makes it work. If it does not smell, it probably is not doing what you think it is doing. There are high-quality aged garlic extract supplements that work through a different pathway, S-allyl cysteine instead of allicin. Those do have research behind them. That is what was used in the UCLA study, but they are not the same thing as fresh allicin, and you should know the difference. If you want the benefits I described today, start with the real thing. 2 cloves, a knife, 10 minutes. That is your pharmacy. If you are already following the olive oil protocol from one of my earlier videos, add your crushed garlic to that same morning routine. A tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil with 1 crushed clove of garlic mixed in after the 10-minute rest. The polyphenols in the olive oil and the allicin in the garlic work on 2 different pathways that both protect your endothelium. It is like having 2 different repair crews working on the same road at the same time. One fills the potholes, the other resurfaces the entire lane. And if you are taking the turmeric golden milk protocol from my earlier video on brain health, add your garlic at a different time of day. Turmeric at night, garlic in the morning. That way your body is receiving anti-inflammatory support around the clock instead of all at once. These protocols are not meant to be taken in isolation. They stack. And when they stack correctly, the effect compounds in ways that a single ingredient never could on its own. Make sure you are subscribed. The algorithm does not show health content from smaller channels unless you are subscribed and watching. One tap, and you will see every new video the week it goes live. A 2024 meta-analysis that compiled data from 21 independent randomized controlled trials found that garlic consumption reduced total cholesterol by an average of 14.17 milligrams per deciliter and produced substantial reductions in LDL cholesterol across every study reviewed. 21 trials, all randomized, all controlled. The evidence is not debatable at this point. It is a question of whether anyone is willing to tell you. My patients always ask, Dr. Hale, can I take this home in writing? That question, asked 1,000 times, is why the reversal protocol exists. It is in the pinned comment. Tell me something in the comments. How do you prepare your garlic right now? Do you crush it and wait? Or have you been throwing it straight into the pan your whole life? I want to know. Earl came back to see me 9 months later. He had followed the protocol every single day. 2 cloves, crushed, 10 minutes. His wife made it part of their morning routine together. She would crush the garlic while the coffee brewed. When his cardiologist ran a new calcium score, it had not gone up. For the first time in 6 years, the number had not gone up. His cardiologist looked at the scan twice. Earl told me the doctor said, "Whatever you are doing, do not stop." He did not ask what it was. Earl told him anyway. The doctor wrote it down on a sticky note and put it in his coat pocket. That is where we are in medicine right now. The evidence is in a coat pocket on a sticky note. It should be on every prescription pad in America. When your grandchildren ask what changed, when they ask why you are the one at the family barbecue who is still on your feet, still sharp, still there. You can tell them it started with 2 cloves of garlic, a cutting board, and 10 minutes of patience. That is all it takes. Your body already knows what to do with it. It has been waiting.